Welcome to Utility Room Legends. I'm Sky Jacob, producer of the podcast, and I'll be stepping in for the intro today while our host is away. On this episode, we're joined by Phil Argersinger, owner and CEO of Flex Hose Company. Phil's career spans more than 4 decades, starting from humble beginnings and growing into a leader whose innovations are used on projects across the world. He shares how military discipline, persistence, and a commitment to integrity shape not only his company, but also the way he approaches every challenge. This is a story about passion, resilience, and the drive to leave a lasting impact. Let's get into it.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to get started. Obviously, want to have you introduce yourself, tell everyone out there who you are and what you do.
I appreciate that. My name is Phil Argersinger. I'm the owner and CEO of Flex Hose Company. I've been doing this for a short period of time, 44 years.
That's way short.
It is way short. I started this whole process thinking this would just be a job when I was a young man in my 20s.
Yeah.
And then life takes its courses, and all of a sudden it's like, God, I think I could do this extremely well. Perhaps I should buy this company.
Yeah.
And the rest turned into history, you know?
Yeah. Well, so I will say that you do it very well. Yesterday, actually, we had the training that you did. I told them, I said, that's the best manufacturer training I've ever been in. And I don't know too many where you have guys that those concepts are pretty deep for them, and then they're doing, takeoffs and looking at plans halfway through the day. So
yeah, it was
pretty impressive.
It was pretty cool. She sent me a text last night, and she made a comment. She said, yeah, it was one of the best trainings we've ever had.
Yep.
I sent a comment back. I said, well, I'm sad. I waited for a while, and she's like, what do you mean you're sad? I said, that should have been the absolute best training you've ever had. I need to raise my game.
I think it was the best.
Yeah.
It was the best. She's, being nice.
Yeah. But I appreciate getting the opportunity to sit here and talk to the folks in the industry.
Yeah. And you've been to Colorado a few times, multiple times?
Multiple times. Actually, I think the first time I went to Colorado was on a personal level.
Yeah.
When I got out of high school, I thought, man, I ought to go see the country before I go in the service, and I rode my motorcycle to Colorado. Yeah. And that was kind of on my return trip.
And where were you living at then?
Well, I was originally from upstate New York, outside of Syracuse, a little tiny town called Baldwinsville, which is pretty cool. So I'm like, before I go in the service and serve my country, it's like I should get out and venture to see the world, at least in our world. Yeah. And I did. So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Thank you for your service as well.
Thank you. You as well. You were in the Marine Corps, I understand.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
I was in the Army.
Was a crayon eater?
Yeah, I was a 95 Bravo.
95 Bravo.
Military police.
Ooh, everyone loves you. Coming across the gate.
Actually, I ended up going there because I used to get in trouble all the time.
Right.
And I thought, maybe I should try the opposite side of the angle and see what it's really like. So that was kind of why I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine was a MP in the Army, and then he ended up being in special investigations. But yeah, he absolutely loved it. But at first, same thing. He was like a troublemaker, and it was kind of like, oh. I think actually he enlisted because it was like you're either going to do 6 months in detention or you can enlist.
I think every young person in the United States should serve
the
country.
I agree. And see, for me, I'm 4th generation military. My grandfather was a full bird Army colonel. My father was Air Force officer, taught at the Air Force Academy. That's how we got to Colorado. And growing up in our house, my brother and I were the first to enlist. And, but it was just kind of expected. It wasn't like, we were never told you're going to join. It was just kind of an expectation.
I think the writing was on the wall. I mean, I come from a military family. My father was a full bird colonel when he retired, same thing. And he dropped me off on my 18th birthday at the Federal Building at 3:00 in the morning. And I said, and he said to me, happy birthday. And I'm like, thanks. He says, but I'll write you every day.
Oh,
pretty awesome.
And were you? Did you go overseas at all?
I did. I spent my tours over in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was fortunate at the time. I didn't experience any real conflict.
Yeah.
I went in '76 and did a 3-year stint.
Okay. Well, but not too long after. I mean, the Vietnam was still
coming to an end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember growing up in the '80s on military bases, and Vietnam was still very much. I mean, now you look back on it. When I was a kid, I thought that was so long ago, but I served in Iraq. And I joined in '97, got out in '05. I was deployed in '03, and but I look at it now and I'm like, that's the same time distance from when I was a kid to Vietnam as now to Iraq.
Yeah, so, look where we are today in the world, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Just had a little fun deal with Iran over the weekend, right?
Yeah, I told you I'm doing my own podcast in the future. I just opened my new facility. You want to know where it is?
Yeah.
I just bought real estate over there. I'm joking.
That would be a fun one. I'm assuming you're going to talk about all kinds of controversial topics over there.
100%. I think if we don't talk about them, I think that's the best aspect. I mean, this is a very unique city. I think Denver. I went to the ball game last night. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, how was that?
You know, it was surprising. I was with one of my employees, and he said, let's go to the ball game. And I could care less going to a baseball
Yeah.
game. I haven't been to a major league team or professional team. I've been to the minors, and it's like watching glue dry, right?
Right.
And you pretty much want to leave halfway through.
Yeah.
So we'll go during halftime. Well, there's no halftime. So anyway, we went for the 9 for 9 challenge.
Okay.
That's 9 hot dogs, 9 beers.
Oh.
We were close on the beers, but we didn't do the hot dogs.
You didn't get the hot dogs all day.
But you know what's cool about that? They played an amazing game. But besides that, all the political differences of people,
Yeah.
whether you're on the left, you're right, or in the middle,
Right.
that sport seems to bring everybody together. It's a family activity. There was it's just this massive camaraderie. It was really cool. Everybody's on the same level, on the same ground.
Well, beer also helps with that, and
It does.
it's a great place. It's a great venue, Coors Field.
It's amazing, Ben.
Yeah.
Did
you catch the sunset then?
We did. We sat behind the batters.
Yeah.
We had the whole view of the
You get
stadium.
that orange sunset coming in right over
and the sun's going down.
Yeah.
And it's going down over the sign. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a big old Coors Light. I mean, does it get any better than that here in Denver? I don't think so.
And you don't have, so we got some craft beer for you for unique here to Colorado. I know I lived in the Florida Panhandle. You live down in, where are you at now in Florida?
My company's up in Liverpool, New York, outside of Syracuse. But
Yeah.
I live in Santa Rosa Beach.
You were right next to where I lived in Destin, Navarre Beach.
Yes. So I live on 30A there. So they got
Yeah.
Santa Rosa Beach, they got Rosemary Beach, Blue Mountain Beach. So I live on the Gulf of America.
There you go.
Yeah, I love it down there.
The Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America, man. You
Gotta love it.
We're making it great.
When I was there, I ran a car dealership down there, and all my guys used to, when I'd come back home, they wanted New Belgium Fat Tire. So
Oh, yeah.
I guess they didn't have it there. I fell in love with Yangling in Florida.
Well, that's the oldest brewery in the U.S.
I know.
Still
That's
is.
what I learned. Yeah, every time I go east, I want to get Yangling. So we got some IPAs. So feel free.
Well, you can't beat Voodoo Ranger. We were talking later, perhaps doing a road trip up there to the brewery. I understand.
It's a great place. Yeah,
Yes.
you should definitely do it.
It's north of Boulder.
Yeah. Just go right now on I-25. Just go like you're heading to Wyoming, and
Keep cruising.
you'll catch it. I think I'm going to go with a mango, sir.
Well, you can't beat a Voodoo Ranger, and you certainly can't beat their IPAs, can you? So I'm going to go for the IPA, Liquid Paradise.
There we go. Yeah. So let's talk about cheers. Let's talk about how you. That's good.
That is good.
Let's talk about how you got into the industry, because most people, I know me included, I joke around with people and I tell them I did 8 years in the Marine Corps and 12 years in the car business, and I decided it was time to get into something really exciting, so I chose pipe, valves, and fittings. And I was worried if I would like it, but I absolutely love it. I nerd out on it. So most people don't think I'm going to go do that. How did you get into it?
Yeah, and how can it be an exciting career? So early on in school, I wanted to be a artist. So I'm very artistic, structural, visual person. I do all the marketing for our company and the kind of the trade show development, all that stuff. But the bottom line is, when I went in the military, I thought perhaps law enforcement, right? I'd come out during that time, and I couldn't really get a job in law enforcement because I was a minority. I was a white male Caucasian, and they weren't hiring white male Caucasians.
Right.
It wouldn't matter what you scored on the test. So at that time, I do remember, I think it was my first marriage, and she said, geez, if you become a cop in New York City, I'm going to leave you. I probably should have become a cop in New York City. It would have saved me some money, but I didn't. So then eventually my paths crossed. I worked in the, fluid power, like hydraulics and pneumatics. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately I got the opportunity to take a job with Flexo's company. And they're a very small company. They were privately held. They originally were spinoff of Anaconda, which was out of Waterbury, Connecticut. Most of that industry started in Connecticut, the forming operations. So when I started in probably in the mid-'80s, I was 24 years old, something along there, 25 years old. I thought, what the hell, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
It was a company car. I'll never forget that opportunity. So I thought, I got to close this deal. My buddy dropped me off in his VW bus. He's a chemist. I walked in. I said, I'm not going to get this job because I don't have the experience. So during that process, I finally thought to myself, I'm not going to get this. And I said, well, why don't you give me 100% commission? Give me that company car and point me in the right direction. And he said, okay. For 3 months, that's exactly what I did. And at the end of it, he'd take all my expenses times 10, and that'd get my commission check. Well, my first commission check was $1. That's no exaggeration. So then after that, I thought, I got to start to learn the industry. So I called on pulp and paper, power generation, and I learned the manufacturing process and the process behind all those industries. So then I worked for this company for a few years, 6, 7 years, 8 years into it, and I started to control about 80% of the revenue. And then I thought, you know what? I always wanted to work for myself, even when I was in high school. And I thought, I'm going to approach him. So when I approached him, he had a son. He's like, well, my business isn't for sale. I said, yeah, I think it's for sale because I control about, I think, 80% right now. And I said, so I think if we don't make this deal, perhaps we're going to move in another direction. So the long and the short, we made the deal. And as
he was smart enough to understand
as I got into it, it was like I fell in love with the process. You meet people, you call in distribution, you deal with engineers, and we've made a real difference in the industry. Then we progressed. I think I went for my second company like 8 years later. I did the same thing. It was a vertical acquisition. They were providing us with raw materials and product. Took control of most of what I felt again, where I was their primary customer. When I felt that I had that leverage, I did it again. And it's not a brutal process because everybody wins. The people that sold won, and the company continues to thrive and grow.
Yeah, that's great. I always love hearing stories about how people get into the industry, and it's usually something like, they didn't know if I was going to get the job, just kind of went and applied, or I find a lot of guys end up, working in construction or something like that, and then they move into, no, I'm not going to be in the ditch, or I'm not going to be sitting in the mechanical room all day, and then they start working in you see a lot of people go into, especially in the contracting side, where, it's such a disarray. And it's really easy to be like, I could do this shit better.
It's a great trade. I have a really good friend in New York City who owns a major mechanical plumbing firm. And the same thing. He's doing the high rises there. It's crazy.
Well, and that's something, not like AI is going to take that over. Can't turn a wrench,
No. And then he runs, a large company there today.
Yeah.
And extremely successful. I think that's what the young generation is missing. They're not really thinking they want to go into the trades.
Right.
They want to go into high tech. They think as soon as they get out of school, they make a lot of money. Yeah. But if they have the vision, I think within my organization, anybody in that company can buy that company. They can go as far as they want. They just have to put themselves in that position. I'm not going to restrict them.
Right.
So I think any young person that's in this industry, if they go into it with that mindset, and they think that they can't even take over that distributor, that's truly not the fact. All they have to do is outshine all the others.
Yeah.
And become the most important aspect in that organization. And anyone can do it.
Yeah, and that's meritocracy, right?
Exactly.
That's all it is.
It's called pure capitalism. You're going to love it.
Yep, it's the best.
Absolutely.
With colleges, a lot of people think they don't look at trade. And even trade right now, is it really worth, $200, $250, $300, $500,000 worth of debt? And you can go into a tech or trade school, and get and become, go in for an apprenticeship with a plumber. There's all kinds of things, welding, fabricating.
We're looking for welders now. It's very difficult. It's a very high skill set, and the country needs it. Yeah. So as they get older, they don't have to maintain that trade. That trade teaches in that industry. Yeah. They then can become on the, if you want to call it, on the office side, on the management side, on the owner side. They can. Ultimately, if you're in sales, people say, well, maybe I should go to school and learn sales. Sales isn't something you actually learn. It's how you interrelate with people. And anyone who's successful, whether you're a waiter, mechanical contractor, an engineer, it's all about sales.
It is. Everything's about sales. That's why it's an engineer. And
it's about giving the information, being truthful about it, and being sincere, and people can see through. People can see that.
Absolutely.
Or they can see through it if you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I love about. I've been doing sales. I started out, actually, I told you I lived in Mexico. I was a Mormon missionary.
Oh yes.
So I grew up Mormon.
I go there occasionally for business. I just got back from Bogota. Well, it's not Mexico, but I just got back from
Medellin,
Colombia.
Right? Yeah.
Medellin and Bogota.
Yeah.
Bogota in business, but yes, I go to Monterrey. I go down there for work.
Monterrey is that's kind of the tech hub for Mexico. It was even back in 2001 when I was there.
Yeah, very much so.
More, yeah. But mean, and so when I got back and I got married young, dumb, and broke and thought, I need a job. So I like cars. I can talk to people. So I started selling cars, and I spoke Spanish, speak Spanish now. And that all sales is just effectively communicating and finding common ground. And I think most people, if you sat down and talked to somebody, and we talked about politics, whether you're on the left or the right, if you just sat down and talked to somebody, you'd be amazed at how quickly after a couple of questions you can find
Common ground.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and once you have that, and then after that, it's it's funny. Yesterday when you were talking about, why we're all here to make money, obviously, right? I mean, that's why I go to work, right? But at the same time, for me, as far as success in my field, what I do, I kind of look at it like Pat Bowlen, who was the owner of the Broncos. I remember they were talking to him about how the Broncos were the most successful organization. This is back in the mid 2000s, right? At that time, from 1970 to that time, overall than any other, franchise in the NFL. Yeah. And they asked what he attributed success to. And he said, I stopped. I realized that I didn't want to run it like a business. I ran it to win. And I figured if we won, all the money would take care of itself.
Yes.
And so that's what I do. Is I don't really look at it. I mean, obviously money's the reason, right? But I feel like if you're genuine, if you're just who you are, I look at solving problems. And that's why I tell, what do you do? Anything that moves water, I just like to solve problems.
Well, you talk about running a business to run it as a business, but to be successful, you got to love it.
Yeah.
And then you run it to win.
Yeah.
Because the passion level is entirely different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think of retirement, because what would you do in retirement? I love what I do. I travel all over. I talk to people. Yeah. We go to major jobs. We lay out jobs. Flex Shows now has 5 patents that I've developed, and the recent one, and we have it registered in 7 countries. We're just registered in Japan. I don't speak Japanese. We don't have any organizations in Japan, but you know what? I believe it if I put the intellectual property there. Yeah. Somehow I'm going to find a road to get to that marketplace. Yep. Versus, okay, I'm in the marketplace. Let's develop it. No, let's spend the money. We'll develop some patents there. We'll license them there because there's a lot of earthquakes. And then we're going to figure it out. And you have to have the foresight, and then I think you just never quit. You just keep moving forward. Yeah. In an aggressive manner. And I think there's no such thing as friendly competition, as they say. Yeah. I think your competition should be thinking about you at night when they lay their head to the pillow and think, man, I can't sleep because of Phil.
You should have been in the Marine Corps, man.
Yeah. Well, the Army went in first. But yeah. Hey, we're all the same brothers.
That's right. That's right. 100%. Brothers. Yeah. And I remember it didn't matter when you were there who was on the ground or who was next. You didn't care who was coming next, on your flank or on your six. So it didn't matter as long as all the same side.
Yeah, if you look at all of our armed forces, they do an amazing job.
Yeah. I mean, how cool was it was just my brother and I were talking about it. The recent strikes in Iran with the B-2. I mean, how badass is that? You come in, fly from Missouri, right, all the way to Iran.
Yeah, 50,000 feet.
Yeah, dropping bombs inside of an air vent that's 6 foot by 6 foot at 35,000 feet.
And then another one follows it in the same hole.
Another one falls in the same hole, right behind it, 2 more. And then by the time anyone knows what the hell happened, you're already over the ocean. Yeah. Yeah, that was incredible.
I think that's something that should have happened before. I think we finally have somebody that looks at the world in a different perspective, and it's all positive.
No, I agree. I mean, and I think, it's like my brother and I were talking, and there's a little bit of a sense of, over the years with the military, well, and not to mention, like, during COVID, I think changed a lot, too, in how we view our government.
Well, I lived in Florida, so life was normal. You know how much I traveled?
You had DeSantis. So,
yeah, you know how much I traveled during COVID? 0. And if I did, the rule, you can, if you have a drink, you're fine. So I would constantly have the can up to my mouth. It was a beer, make it look like I was drinking and not have that mask on. But I stayed in Florida because I felt like I was still in a normal life.
We just went up to Wyoming a lot. Yeah. I kept visiting cities and customers up in Wyoming.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they stayed open.
Wyoming, Montana.
Yep.
Yeah, Utah was a little bit crazy. Not as bad. Colorado went nuts, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, like California light over here. But no, like, I think, brother and I were talking, I think it was a good thing because, when I was growing up, it was peace through strength, right? And nobody wanted to fuck with the U.S. because they knew what was going to happen. And I think that kind of went away. There were red lines established, and I think years of, it's like, I was talking to a Marine Corps buddy of mine. It's like, I mean, how badass are we? We've been freaking bombing sand castles and grass huts for years. And then you have China, which, aside from military, look what they're doing, intellectual property. When we go to these conferences and these national trade shows, I mean, they're going off of our backs on the innovation. They're sending everyone to our schools.
Yeah, they are.
And then they're coming back and they're kicking our ass.
Yeah, and I think we got to need to move away from that. The majority of what we produce is a domestic product. In my industry, a lot of the people in the metal hose industry, whether pump connectors, expansion joints, they're getting all this stuff off the boat. They'll put some, animal name on their product and suggesting it gives it some credence. They'll publish things that are perhaps not really forthright.
Sure.
And that's where this industry's evolved. But yeah, for years I've held on to the fact it's got to be made in America, buy in America. I competed against imports frequently, but I never gave up that vision. As a result of it, we grew.
That's great.
I didn't let go of that core value, but it would have been so easy for me to jump on that train.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, I don't. But I was talking. So we had I had Chris Keffer. He's going to be taking over for his father as the president of EVA Iron. Chris he's extremely bright. So there's EVA Iron Foundry, and then EVA Iron Sales, and his dad Jim Keffer is the president of EVA Iron Sales. And then they make the first mechanical joint restraint, the Megalug. That's their patented.
I'm
so
familiar with that,
Earl Bradley and Associates is what EVA stands for. And but Chris has been out before. He had, I think he got his degree in, I can't remember if it was engineering. He was on the podcast. We talked about it, but he actually had spent time. He's lobbying in D.C. for American Iron and Steel (AIS).
Yeah, we just did a job in Philadelphia for all AIS requirements.
Yeah, so he was on the forefront of that, and we talked about, and that's the one thing I never could understand is apples to apples. I get the labor, but we've looked at, we've sent stuff, we sent material overseas, we've purchased material from overseas, and the cost for import export before tariffs, you can't tell me that apples to apples, even just because of labor, but the cost of bringing all that over, that you're getting the exact same product, apples to apples.
Yeah, I don't think
you're
you're
able
getting
to
the
be
exact
20.
same product. But
Right.
the Chinese government will actually fund those
Correct.
plants, and they'll produce they'll produce things at a negative value.
Yeah.
What you can't do here in capitalism, you go out of business.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. We recently did a project that was, you talk about AIS, which is all material search, right, for American product. As you're familiar with.
It's greater than 51%. If it's predominantly iron and steel,
Yes.
meaning greater than 51% iron steel, then 100% of the product has to be poured cast in the U.S.
That's correct. So we just did that. We also did that on the a huge joint venture between Canada and the U.S. I think it was the biggest joint venture we've done in a long time.
Oh, was it the bridge?
Yeah, the Gordie Howe project. That
Yeah.
was, I believe that's the largest free-spanning bridge in North America.
Wow.
And we did that. So we did the Canadian side, which I thought was kind of funny, but it's going to connect to the American side. And we did all the expansion joints, right, for the fire protection and so forth for pipe motion. But the bottom line was, on the American side, we're like, it's got to be coming. Everybody's like, oh, there's nothing there. But as they built that span, if you actually see that on YouTube videos and so forth, it's incredible when they finally made that connection. They think they can start in such a broad distance from two opposite directions and
Right.
come together. And we provided that product on both sides. So for us in our team, that's such a huge sense of pride, considering where we've come from since we started in 1968 to where we are today. We were domestic. Now we sell product internationally.
Yeah.
We've partnered with you folks. So it's we align ourselves with tremendous people that have the same core values.
Yeah.
And it works. And partnerships take time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So success takes time. So young kids in school, they got to be patient. Yeah. They got to come out and work a little bit. They can't expect it immediate. And I think if they don't expect it immediately, they'll far exceed their friends, and or their, the people of the similar ages.
Yeah, I remember
they have patience.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was younger, at the time I had been the youngest sales manager that Chrysler had on record, and I thought, oh shit, I'm 23 years old.
I thought it was Lee Iacocca. Wasn't that Lee Iacocca?
No, that's where so it was a Chrysler dealership, not at Chrysler. But I did read that book, Iacocca.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's a great book, yeah. But so I thought, oh yeah, I know it, I got it. And it really was about 5 years later when it was like, all right, this isn't helping me out. Like I got to learn from people that have been doing this and listen and talk to them. And that's something that I've taken in this industry. I remember when I started out, I went to a distributor. There's a gentleman there. His name's John Roberts. He's been he's got to be over 40 years in the industry, from contracting to distributor, the wholesale side, to even, I believe, the municipal side. And I showed him something that I learned at, something about a product. Went for a brand new product launch. I was only 6 weeks into this, and I thought, well, that's okay. That's cool. So I showed him that, and I explained what they did to make that. And he went, oh, that's pretty cool. I'd never seen that before. And I'm like, how long you been doing this? And he's like, 30-something years. This was 13 years ago. And I go, and you've never seen that before? And it just taught me, you can never learn. And like, if you stop learning,
you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
You're constantly learning. Like I talked to some folks the other day about some new changes in the industry. And they're in the industry. And I talked to them about delegated design. Are you familiar with it? And they were like, no, we're not familiar with it. I said, well, if you're in this industry and you're a manufacturer, it's the trend of the HVAC industry. For the engineering community is suggesting that up to the contractor to then lay out all the thermal expansion, the devices, the anchor loads, have it looked at structurally, and then ultimately stamp it. So you can no longer just produce something.
Yeah.
You have to possess the intellectual property in order to do that. And I think that's what America offers. That's what we offer domestically. That's what we don't get on imports.
Right.
We did recently, I think it's funny because Saudi Arabia, we recently did the largest mosque in Saudi Arabia. So some of the projects we've done, from like Freedom Tower, and we did that, to Grand Central Station, to the Pentagon. I thought the coolest one I did personally in my life was a U.S. Supreme Court House.
Oh, really?
I personally laid that piping.
Did you get some wires in there, some bugs?
Well, no, because
Dang it.
I was kind of not such a good kid.
I just want to know who's compromised. I think we already have a good idea of it.
Yeah, I was compromised before I went in the military for the military police. So then later in my career, I'm like, I'm going to lay this piping system out. This is so cool. Yeah. But the victories. So it is just a passion. So what did you think yesterday? I came in and we did a classroom. We're going to spend 6 hours, which would have been a 2-day class. We kind of crammed it into 6. What was your perspective before I started the class, and what was your perspective at the end? I'm just curious.
I consider myself somebody who's at least knowledgeable, understands the concept. I thought it was actually fascinating for me because, you talked about when you did the 80-20.
Yeah, 80% of people, or 20% of your 20% of your revenue, or 80% of your revenue comes from 80% of your customers, or 20% of your customers.
Yeah.
Brett, the 80-20 rule.
It's just the same thing for lines. If you're
and then
manufacturing
employees
rep, right?
or people.
Yeah.
20% of the people in the room do 80% of the work.
Yeah. That's been hammered in this company for a long time. So all the guys are like,
true.
oh, yeah, we've heard it. Because that's all Brent harps on. It's 100% true.
The majority of people, it is a small minority of people that do the work.
Yeah.
And a small minority that gives you the majority of your revenue.
Yeah. But when you were talking about on the expansion side.
Yeah. Well, it is an 80-20 rule.
Right. So you're talking about, then it clicked because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's where, I've worked with expansion joints on very large projects.
Metal expansion joints, rubber expansion joints. For the folks that don't know out in the industry that are listening to us, if you have an expansion joint that says it's capable of 3 inches of axial travel,
right.
Well, 80% of that would be in compression. Yes, which would be 2.4 inches. And the other 20 would be an extension. Yeah.
So what's funny is when that came up, it clicked because there's been 2 large issues where the design, the compression wasn't enough. So they were off on the compression. So they got the overall movement, right?
But they didn't get in the right direction.
And so we had one where we were underneath a bridge during COVID over in Avon, which is up in the mountains near Vail. And so they had ductile iron pipe, and they had these expansion joints, and they had bottomed out. And so you could go and look right down the pipe, and you could just see, if you looked right down the view, the pipe it had hangers, but the hangers were...
Everything's moving around. It's no longer
all snaking, right,
exactly.
down. And then we had one over just down the road where they ended up having to drop after they had it done, same thing, bottomed out, and then they ended up having to put a sleeve down a manhole, and it had about a 1/2 inch of clearance. So it was a 24-inch expansion joint, ductile iron, and they're dropping this thing down a manhole. I'm going, man, I don't want to be one of those guys down there in the bottom. I mean, But it clicked that was so that I consider myself somebody who understood the concepts, but then really diving into mine's been more on like thrust force, dynamic thrust force based on the medium pressure and in the pipeline. But getting the concepts and understanding that, which I felt it all clicked on.
So let me ask you this: what is the money symbol to you? The dollar symbol. That's the money symbol, right?
Yeah.
So in our world, in the mechanical world, if you're looking at a drawing for a job and it's got piping all over and it looks like straight lines or whatever, for people who don't know that, you kind of look at it, it looks like spaghetti and it moves all over the building.
Yeah.
But if you look at that and all of a sudden you see an X, that's the money spot, because that means if you don't, it's an anchor to control the pipe system. So if you don't put that in right, or if you can eliminate the size of it structurally, all those things can increase the profitability for the mechanical contractor. I actually think what we need to do is take that class, and we need to start bringing that around on a national basis for the community, whether we do it in this form or another form, because I think it would help the trades.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
And then half the things that go wrong could be prevented, or actually probably 80% of them could be, the 80-20 rule could be eliminated in the potential aspects of problems.
When there was a lot of issues that were exposed during COVID, when you had buildings that were unoccupied, that are normally, so you had these systems that have been dynamic the whole time and they go static.
And everything comes down.
And then everything comes down. And then when they start getting ready to get people back in, then all the problems start to
Well, yeah, because they shut the pipe down. So when they shut the piping system down, it cools off and everything then contracts. And then if nothing's done correctly, they have issues.
I tell people the system's kind of like a bed. When you've been sleeping on your bed and then it gets that form, the same, or like your couch, the same spot over and over, because it's the same force, the same pressure constantly in play. And then when that either relaxes or when you go static and you have full load, you run into issues. And we saw that constantly during COVID. Constantly.
Yeah, COVID wasn't a very fun time. I definitely not going down that road again.
No, hell no.
And we won't even talk about vaccines.
No. We had
my next door neighbor, he's a mortician. So I never ask him how his day is. You know what I mean? Like, hey, how's your day? Or how's business?
Did you ask him about the clots?
And I'll actually talk. I joked with him once. I said, so how's business? And I didn't let him answer. I said, don't tell me. I don't want to hear it. But he did. He said he got vaccinated, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I mean, I was born in 1959, for God's sake. So, you had to get vaccines to go to school and all that, such as a lot of folks did. And some of that I'm fine with. But he did say, and he got vaccinated. He did say that his business has changed dynamically as a result of that. And do you know why it's changed? I'll give you a guess. I'll do the A, B, C, or D.
Yeah.
A, clots, B, clots, C, clots, D, all the above.
Clots.
So apparently when it comes to embalming, which we don't want to get too morbid here.
Right. We can go for it.
He can't get the embalming fluid in. He's got to take the clots out and bypass that. So I said to him, well, how are you doing? He goes, well, actually, I've had some issues with my legs. So, thank God I haven't had any issues. But the point is, that was kind of thrown at us.
Yeah.
Maybe it was needed. Not sure. I'm not sure what the results would have been afterwards.
Well, I mean, I think the one good thing that came about is I think most people are like, we're not doing this shit again. Yeah, like I mean,
I'm not going down that road.
Yeah, I'm not even doing that. And I think that hopefully, I remember. I think it was maybe.
I bought cases of booze when that thing was coming. When they were shutting down the stores, I went in the liquor store. I probably brought out like 6 cases of Tito's.
Yeah, I think everyone did that. There was a
beer,
line wrapped around
carts and carts. I'm like, if I'm going to be shutting for a couple months, I might as well hang out and chill out and enjoy.
Well, that was then you wonder about. that was kind of the bullshit of the whole thing was what's essential business, right?
Yeah, my wife's Russian. She was making vodka in the bathroom in the tub. Nah, I'm joking. But if it came to that, she could do it. She could do it.
Where's she from?
She's from Russia, like southern Russia.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe the LLC or something. She hasn't been back there in 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's an American citizen, obviously, and she hasn't been back in 20 years. And I think she has no intention.
Could she cuss at you in Russian?
Oh yeah, she speaks Russian. I don't know much Russian at all.
Yeah, she can give
But yes. And when they talk, they sound very angry. They always talk loud.
Oh, very.
She talks to her girlfriends. It's like they're yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even my son says, God, don't they sound angry? I said, yeah, they do. But they're laughing, and every once in a while, I say, da, 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 da.
Yeah. We have one of those European market shops. Right by our house.
Yeah, she goes there consistently.
Yeah. Not bad, man.
I like some of the
What's
stuff.
your favorite dish?
Oh, I would say she makes incredible borscht.
Borscht. And what's borscht?
Well, it's a beet. It's kind of like a stew.
Okay.
And a beet base. Then she makes these
beets.
patties with sausage and beef in there, and she boils them, then steams them, then fries them, and I would say. I bet you perhaps most Russian women are probably some of the best cooks, or international women. They're tremendous cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, have you been there to visit her family at all?
No, her mother and father passed away.
Okay.
And during the current political state, there's no way I'm going to go to Russia.
Right.
I'm not going there.
Tucker went.
Yeah. Tucker went. He got an invite, obviously, so it was safe, and he sat with Putin. But no.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking a whole different environment now, right? They're friends with Iran, North Korea. I could go through the list with it. It's no longer a friendly place for.
No, and I mean I grew up in the '80s. I mean it's funny because my
there was a time I wanted to go, but I think we've passed that time.
yeah, my some of my earliest memories are watching Red Dawn, like when growing up on military base.
Yes.
They would play Red Dawn at like matinee in the summertime, and that's how they got all the kids to be like America.
Yes.
We'd all hike up, go to the base theater, and watch Red Dawn. And then have little battles out. This is like 88, 87. I grew up remembering Gorbachev and the Cold War.
I remember when the wall came down.
Yeah.
So actually, when you were in high school and middle school, did you go to shop class?
Yeah.
We should get that back.
Yeah, we should get that back. And I also went to one of my favorite was technical drawing.
Yes, I enjoyed that. And art was good for me. So a few times when I wasn't going to do anything like a book report, I would actually just read the back of the book, and I would do an amazing cover because I can draw extremely well, and I would do some illustrations, and I would be like that. I would pass. But speaking of like when you had classes in high school, you'd go to art class and shop class and auto. You know what they did in Russia with my wife? They had to learn how to take apart a Kalashnikov. You know what a Kalashnikov is?
Kalashnikov? Yeah, AK-47.
AK-47. Yeah, that was a mandatory requirement.
That's freaking
Could you
badass.
imagine if we do that in the U.S. and everybody has to take apart an AR-15?
My sons can do it.
Yeah, well, I got some.
Well, my oldest two can do it.
Yeah, and we're in Florida, so we're a very gun-oriented state.
This is we consider this office here a very a safe haven. This is a sanctuary state for America-loving individuals.
Yes. Have you ever been to ASHRAE? We exhibit an ASHRAE every year. It's a big.
I have not. Matt has went. Like I said, my background's been, and this is one of the reasons I'm actually really glad that you're on. Is when I started, there were 6 of us here at Rep Masters, and we had at the time because of and that included the warehouse. So there was myself, and there was Matt. Diamond was there, and then she had actually left and went to the manufacturing side. For a while, but it was myself, Matt Bruni, Mike Bruni, and then we had Ron Hatt.
Yes.
And we didn't have anyone in Montana at the time. We didn't have Braylon. Lena was here, and Lena Hillier, and we had Dave in the warehouse. And that was it. And so we all went we kind of did it by markets. So I just kind of, Diamond was growing that the waterworks side, and so that's kind of where I was assisting on. And then when she had left, I took that over. So it was like my background's been waterworks. So one of the reasons I'm glad to have you on here is to talk more. I have not been to ASHRAE, but I know Matt has, and so.
Well, you've been to the waterworks show.
Yeah.
So let's say international water shows or ASHRAE. ASHRAE is American Society Heating, Refrigeration, Air Conditioning Engineers. In HVAC, there's a wet side, which would be the piping side, mechanical side, which would plumbers, pipe fitters, welders would be on, and the air side would be the ducting side, and obviously the air side. But my son goes to FAU, so this year I invited him to go to the show in Orlando. It was close. It changes all over the U.S.
Yeah.
And Flexos, it seems not too sexy, right? So we get there. I think we have like a 30 by 30.
I like the pens. I thought those are pretty sexy.
The pens were cool.
Yeah.
We actually had an open bar for 2 days, and we had this 1932 Harley sitting in the middle of the booth, a VL. It's an extremely rare bike, and underneath the bike it said, American products stand the test of time, and we're very much an American-based company.
Yeah.
And he went to that, and I said, you should just come to that and see the show. When he came to see the show, he was so pumped for one day, he wanted to stay the second day, the third day. Yeah. So what I would suggest to people, the younger generation, go to one of these industry shows and see the energy, and then you'll be amazed how you could fit into something like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then when he left the third day, and he's in the air, apparently must have been in the elevator, and somebody said to him, what are you here for? And he said, well, I was here to work, at my father's company at the booth. And where are you from? He was from Saudi Arabia. And he goes, well, you ought to stop by this booth. Flexo's company. He's giving him the spiel. So
He's a natural.
he's a natural. But prior to that, he was a very, quiet kid.
Yeah.
And now he's like, well, it's a cool industry. So the point is, if we could expose some people to this, they'd realize what a cool industry. And it's an extremely exciting industry. You can travel nationally, internationally, and you can make a lot of money.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. My son was I don't know if you know this, but my son actually works in the warehouse now.
Nice.
He just graduated.
I'll have to meet him today before I leave.
Yeah, he's weighted GPA 4.2. So I bet he had been a 4.0 student, pretty much all through high school. And so much to his, we kind of had some back and forth. Even I was, you can get a college scholarship, but he thinks very, he's got this business sense. And so he had actually went in, unbeknownst to me, and registered. So Watts has some online e-learning classes.
Yes.
And he had went in and registered as a subcontractor for UGO Resources.
Oh, really?
While he was in school.
That's pretty cool.
And during his lunch break, he was taking backflow classes, and he had worked in the warehouse in between his freshman and sophomore year, or sophomore and junior.
In high school or in college?
In high school.
High school, wow.
Yeah, he worked in the warehouse when he was 16 during the summer, and then he had the 1 year he didn't, but then he said he wanted to come back, and so he's working here now. But yeah, it's funny because he came back after yesterday the class, and he was like, can you give me a back, let me know what that was all about, and can you teach me a class on it? And so he's wanting to learn, but he knows he's going to start in the warehouse, has to work his way through, and his goal is to get into inside sales. If he decides he wants to change something and maybe go to school or trade school, he said, I'm going to do that, but that's what he wants to do. So I can't stop him. I didn't go to college. So.
Yeah, I think people got to realize that people come into Flexos, and I'll introduce myself as the owner and the CEO, and I'll talk to them about an intellectual, and they'll see our facility, and they think automatically perhaps it was a family business or was gifted to you, or you came from money. That's all furthest from the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I came out of the service, I had to run an apartment with another guy, 1-bedroom apartment, and one of us would sleep in the hallway over the register in Syracuse because they get the heat off that first floor, and we couldn't even afford to put a phone in, and I was pretty much broke.
Yeah.
So everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that teaches you humility, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be in a place where I wouldn't say rock bottom, but you're struggling. I remember at the time my mother said, Phil, here's some money for groceries. She had cancer at the time and wasn't doing very good financially. And I'm like, no, I don't need that money. She's like, no, I can tell you need that. I was going to the store and buying mac and cheese 4 for $1. Remember those days?
Oh, yeah. Ramen.
Ramen noodles.
You get $2.36 buy you a big old pack.
Yeah, and then you fast forward your life forward and you find where you are and you're successful. And but it's the journey that gets you there. I think that's what people will learn in life, and you have to love what you do and the passion. And if you have that passion, people are going to know that when you interact with them.
Absolutely. It is obvious. Being genuine is everything. And I think especially in sales, I used to tell people, even when I was in the car business, and that's a tough business. It's a tough business because it's one of like 3 industries where you're hated the moment someone walks there.
Well, they want to buy that car, but they don't want that question. That question is how much you want to spend. I'd always say nothing, 0.
I used to teach my sales guys. I kind of learned this diffusing deal that would help me out quite a bit. And so I used to teach the sales guys. I'd say, look, my job here, it's real simple. It's to find you the right car at the right price. And I'm like,
yes.
If I can do that, I'm going to ask you to buy. That's my job.
That's it.
But if I can't do that, we'll part friends.
Close the deal.
And usually that first, it was just, and I always tell them, look, I'm not going to retire. Like, number one, it's even when I talk about products in this industry, if they're like, if it's not the right product for the job, I'm not going to recommend it because I could never sell you enough of the wrong shit.
Well, in this industry, what's nice is you build relationships with customers, and they become lifetime relationships. They come back to you.
Yeah.
I've had people I've dealt with for 40-some years personally, and I've gone to the retirement party, and it's bittersweet because they've been a long part of your life. So, yeah, you have to be open and honest, and if it's not the right thing, you don't put it in, and then your integrity is there and it grows, and then you got to pass that on to the next generation.
Integrity is everything. My kids will tell you if you ask my son, if you go out there when you meet him, say, if you what happens if you don't have integrity? What do you have? Because I'll tell you, once you lose your integrity,
You don't have
you
anything.
don't have anything.
You don't have anything.
And then you got to work 10-fold over to gain it back. So you never compromise your integrity. You know, it's that I think going to like where for an engineer, like you were talking about people that coming back and then going back to designated design.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel about that moving forward for the engineers?
I think that's a reasonable way for the engineers to do it. There's a lot of young engineers coming out of school.
Yeah.
We very much specialize in what we do. Like, we'll look at a job, we'll lay out the job thermally, we'll do all the calculations, position the product, send it back electronically. They can export it out to CAD, AutoCAD,
Yep.
Or in BIM, which is another form of a CAD for the folks in the industry or not in the industry. And the reality is we hire different firms and we'll lay it out and we send it to those firms to stamp it because we'll charge for that aspect. But prior to that, it's all free for the contractor. We don't charge for any of that. It takes all that responsibility off the engineer, and it's our specialty. So we do classes in the plant that are certified for educational units or PDHs, professional development hours. And we do it for 2 days, and it's 16. So traditionally in most states, I think the PEs, a professional engineer license, needs 12. They can come in 2 days. We just had one. And the engineer came in, we went through. We had many folks there. I think we had like 28 people this last time here just a few weeks ago. And in that process, they're actually going up and they're presenting to the class. We're doing it old school, not on software. But what it does is it builds credibility. They understand it. And then it takes it all away. From all those projects I kind of mentioned prior, I could make a huge list of those. They're all unique in fashion, and they're all stimulated by that. Because now in the industry, when it goes out, it's just nothing's put on the drawings.
Yeah.
It's left to the trades, meaning the contractors, and it's not their specialty. That's not what they do.
Yeah. Does that pose any challenges when you're in, like, your art? So, typically you'll have a request for design, right? That's going to be
Yes.
that proposal. I mean, obviously so are they just accounting? Are they kind of coming up with an estimate for what that's going to end up being?
Yeah.
Because how would you?
Because it's not on the drawings.
Right.
So how does a contractor actually bid the job? So
Yeah.
I think what they need to do is the engineers need to put something on the submission or on the schedule. It's on the front drawing on the schedule and show an illustration. Like, for
Yeah.
example, the triflex loop or the tri-loop. It's kind of looks like a mechanical loop.
Yeah.
And then they have a page in there that says, thermal expansion contraction by others, and
Yeah.
it should be stamped by a licensed engineer, which we'll do. And as a result of that, then at least the contractors, the trades, know where to go to say, hey, could you lay it out for me? What does happen is not that frequent. So then what takes place is the contractor gets it. We kind of run interference for the contractor, and then we'll go back with what request for information, RFI is referred
Yeah.
to in the industry. And in the case of the United States, all buildings have seismic requirements. So we'll go back and look in that aspect.
Oh, that was but
The
I'll let you
R5.
finish, but I definitely want you to go back to that because that is something that blew me away with how easy. Like, how are you not just walking into an engineer and going, do you guys have, for total displacement, do you guys have, can you guys
Total maximum displacement is
maximum
defined by the
displacement.
International Building Code and the American Society of Civil Engineers, Section 7. I know that. I teach this.
that blew me away.
Yeah, so I think our interaction and when I work with contractors or engineers, when I first sit down, I think, well, a hose is a hose. There's not much to it. And I talk about everything but that. I talk about the piping system, structural loads, anchors.
Yep.
And then they're like, wow, there's something to this.
Yeah.
And then I take the fear factor away. The fear factor is just give it to us. Our people are technical. We'll do this for you.
Yep.
And we'll lay it out for you, and you can bill for it. And we don't charge for it. And in that industry, none of our real competitors do that. They're just still small mom and pop shops, and they're just producing product. But eventually they're going to fade away because they're not evolving with the industry.
That's a common
the key.
thing.
They don't have the foresight to
I think those guys are going to get bought out.
such as this podcast. I'm looking at a couple right now.
Couple of competitors or a couple podcasts?
Well, actually, a couple competitors, but I probably am going to do a podcast.
Now you got the bug.
Yeah, actually, I turned my phone off. I got a text from Donald earlier. Not really. It's just the ongoing text of give us some more money.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need more money.
Need more money.
I get those every day.
Yeah, I'm sure Brent does too. I know when I send him requests for stocking products, bring them in. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Well, you guys just became a stocking location, so as a distribution point to feed the central region
Wholesale
of the United
distributors.
States.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we look forward to that. Yeah, we love working with our distributors. It's a fun industry because there's so many layers where, but you can tell. Well, you talking about the manufacturers, you were talking about, the ones that are going to go away because they're not innovating. I mean, that's where I think we're at a point in this industry where really where AI is taking us in this industry, because it's not going to turn a wrench, but if you're not providing value, you're just going to go away.
Oh, AI is exceptional. So we recently had to do an article for South America. I don't speak Spanish. I speak Spanglish, basically, is what you'd call it, right? And I could ask.
I volunteer as tribute to go on your next one as the translator for you on your next one.
That's phenomenal how they do that. They sit in the booth. They sit
translating is really hard.
Yeah, they sit in the booth. I have an earphone, earbud,
Yeah.
and then I'm just talking with a mic on my shirt. And there's maybe 80 people in the room, and I'm walking around the conference room, and it's like 2-3 hours. I'm cracking jokes, and then I can hear them talking here. So you have to try to block that out and keep your train of thought. And then if you pause to let them catch up, you got to stay with it. But where I was going with this is that industry is evolving. Like the fire protection is evolving.
Yeah.
Seismic requirements are evolving. And transitions of companies they're not staying with it.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. They're
going to go away.
They're going to go away.
I mean, if you're not providing value, if you're not a resource, engineers, and I know a lot of people, they get frustrated dealing with an engineer, but it's like I applaud. I love going and doing lunch and learns with new engineers. That's the one where I like to go in.
That's where you got
to talk to them.
That's where you got to spend your time.
Because I tell them, look, you guys are. I mean, I was in military intel. That was my MOS was 0241. I was a general intel analyst. 31's a general, and then I was a imagery analyst 0241. And what was funny is the joke used to be that everyone just thought the intel guy that's in the S2 shop knew everything. Like, to just ask the intel guy, right? It's like, I don't know the atomic weight of freaking cobalt, but. And the engineer is the same type of deal. Is everyone expects them to be an expert, and then they put themselves into that position. And I tell them, look, there's no way you can possibly learn everything about this. Rely on the manufacturers. Yes. Rely on the ones that made the product. They know why they made the product. Manufacturers make products for a reason, because there's a problem. There's an issue they're solving. Rely on the manufacturer. Have them educate you. Then their job's to be, to understand the concepts. When you're an engineer, you're a problem solver. It's to understand the concepts. And then, when I do some of these classes on the municipal side, I talk to them about, where's the breakdown in communication from, do you ever talk to an installer? Because if you don't, you're a problem solver as an engineer. Yeah, so if you're not talking to that person, your client, that's your value. That's your sell as an engineer.
Yes.
Hey, I'm here to protect you, to make sure that when I hand you those plans, right, that that we're communicating so that there's issues, we can ensure that next time that doesn't happen.
Well, the installer is a key element of that.
100%.
So if you design it like the next project that we're doing, I'll probably go down and walk the site as they install it. I've done that before. So we just don't design it, lay it out for the engineer and stamp it. Then we actually have technical talks with the contractor itself, where they go, work through all their details, space restrictions, cover all those bases. And then when they go to put it in, if need be, we'll meet with the trades that are putting it in so they understand it. And then we'll come down occasionally if we have to see that it's going in the right direction. Because all elements of those, the only way that's going to work is all elements have to be on the same page.
Absolutely.
That's the ultimate success of a project.
Well, I mean, if you're a manufacturer, what's the one point that is a potential weak point for your product? The installation. That's it.
All the things in between.
Well, so we look at. I'll say, I have this class that's called "I Got 99 Problems," right? But it's like, and it was based on fading of pipe. It's like, I got 99 problems, but the fade ain't one. It's all these other things, right? So the majority of issues happen because either improper installation, or it's the wrong application, or not understanding the dynamics involved in the application. So when those things, and then that installation point becomes that weak spot. You want to make sure your product, I mean, it's like with EBA when they make the torque limiting twist off bolts, right? It's like, you take the stupid out of it, right? Because what's the only thing that can happen here? I'm over torquing the bolts, or I'm not torquing them down enough. So you remove that element to ensure, I think that's a problem with like HDPE, and PE is a fuse process.
Well, for our product, we're not into that. But the reality of that is when you're into what I'd call a thermoplastic, we'll call it plastic as a generic term. It grows at such a greater rate than an alloy.
Yep.
But if you put expansion device in that, which you're going to have a lot of expansion, thermal expansion, I mean the pipe is going to grow during temperature, right? Mm-hmm. It'll get longer if it's warm and contract if it's cold.
Yep.
And as a result of it, the expansion device, whatever the engineer puts in there, whether it be a loop, an inline metal expansion, a rubber joint, if that product isn't designed correctly, meaning spring rate, it will take so much force to compress the expansion device that the pipe will squirm.
Yeah.
So in reality, in my industry, there's so little known when it comes to the true engineering aspect. They'll have multiple things listed in the spec.
Yeah.
Multiple products listed in the spec.
Or products that aren't the same, and we see that a lot in
all the time.
Well, and a lot of times I've seen products. It's funny because I've seen looks like specs that were written on a product that was there in like the 90s as a base of design, and then rather than understanding that product's still there, but then it's been enhanced now with stuff that makes that you have a conflicting spec. So you're like, well, which one do you want? You want the old school one, or do you want what you called out, referencing the old school?
Yeah, so I think in this industry, it's a constant education. I think I spend most of my time going around traveling and doing where I used to be just individually in products. If I go into a job and I talk to engineers or contractors, it's more on a 30,000-foot level, talk about what they should do, the potential problems they're going to have, and get them to understand that so it's eliminated prior to. Where our competition doesn't do this, primarily their takeoff. Like the job we did the other day. You could have gone through and just counted the number of devices. There's 6 beer cans on this job.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you look at, and they're going to cost money to put them in. But perhaps if we can get it down to 2 beer cans, and less points,
right?
That's a revenue saver to the contractor and to the building owner, actually.
Yeah,
and to the owner the owner of the facility.
And then if an engineer understands that, it gives them an edge on RFPs and design proposals.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I would agree 100%.
There's so much. We look at it with all kinds of products in like with the flexible connections, expansion joints, but whether it's actuation, there's so much overkill that if an engineer was able to understand some of the new stuff and the technologies that are out there, you could really go in on a proposal and make an impact.
Well, when I said to you yesterday, whether you have engineers in the community or in the room or mechanical contractors, when I have them in a class, I all start out with the primary thing we're here to do is one thing: make money.
Make money.
Because if you're the engineer, you want to make a better design.
Yep.
You don't want liability. You don't want to get sued. You just stamp it. It's for life. Yeah. You want to provide value to your customer. If it's a contractor, you want to put it in a profitable way. You don't want any callbacks. You want it to be successful, no leaks, etc. So that is what it's all about. And sometimes I think, like you talked about integrity, there's times where perhaps you have to hold the line. So if somebody asks me, like, listen, your competitor just said they can do this and meet some pressure requirement on a product,
sure,
I've let it go. I said, no, it won't work.
Yeah.
You can't produce it for that. They've gone from the safety factor from a 4 to 1. They fudged the drawings, and they're trying to take the order. And I'll be like, I'm not taking it. And they'll be like, why not? I said, because you're changing the design parameters, and I'm going to falsify some information. I'm not doing it.
Yep.
We did that on a big stadium. And then ultimately said, okay, Phil, what was your suggestion? I gave my suggestion. I said, well, instead of this product, you should put in the other one. So instead of the job going up in price, it went down in price.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the cost initiative. It was holding true to what was going to work. And if it wasn't going to work, we're not going to do it.
Yeah. And that's... had you compromised that and had it gotten caught, right? Like I said, with my kids, once you lose that, what good is it now after that?
We do warranties in the industry, like the car industry does it. We do them. Well, like on our Triflex Loop Trailer, we have it for 5 years. I did it because I was pissed and I figured maybe the competition will go to 10 years or 6 years. First I did 3 years. You know what their warranty is? Like 1 year after date of invoice.
Right.
And then I did it 3, then I made it 5. I was just hoping somebody raised the bar so I could make it 10.
Right.
So now I just keep changing my warranties just because nobody else is raising the bar. So if I had to talk to the industry, I'd suggest all of them raise the bar.
Yeah. Well, then everyone should.
And if you raise the bar, I'll exceed the bar.
Yeah.
Raise the bar.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. Then going back, so I wanted to touch back on that IBC
International Building Code.
with total
Total maximum displacement.
maximum displacement.
So what you'll find in the industry, you'll say to somebody, do you have any building joints? Or what if you say seismic requirements on a building? They're going to be like, well, no, I don't on this job. We don't have any bracing because the pipe's not going to fall down. And it's about the area and the country, is the perspective, and so on. But within the industry, there is every building moves from snow, wind,
Sure.
all of that. So in Florida, I live in Florida. We don't have earthquakes, right? The floor doesn't rumble.
No,
we
it's
have
just a
hurricanes.
swamp.
It's a swamp. We'll fill land in there all the time. Just keep enjoying it. I love Florida.
Yeah, I don't have any buildings that move. Then you look at that apartment in Miami.
Salvador Dali. We did that. That's an art museum. Florida. And the guy says, no, there's no movement. We put a request for information to the engineer. We cited total maximum displacement, where you can find it in the IBC and the ASC Section 7. I could go on, and we did that in Indianapolis. We did that in Freedom Tower.
I mean, how many buildings do you think are out there that never even met the code?
Well, I'm not going to say what states, but there's some places they'll put something in that doesn't really work, like an inline pump connector. That's something you can't put in there, and they'll think they got a flex connection, or they'll just say look the other way.
Yeah.
But it's on all requirements.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on our third patent relationship to building motion and isolating total maximum displacement, which is basically the pipe moves in three planes: the x-axis, which is left and right, if you've got your hands together for in and out, going away from you, y down, up and down, and z, and then rotation, meaning the piping can actually rotate, because when the building moves, it doesn't just move; it actually has a tendency to drift.
Yeah.
So if the pipe goes across, it's a rotational moment. It's right in the code.
Yeah.
So if you were on the design side, I wouldn't want to receive an RFI that requests, give us this information so we can properly, install the piping system.
Yeah.
Per these two codes.
But if I was a contractor, I want to make damn sure I did that.
100%, because you're going to make a lot of money.
Well, it'd make a lot of money, and also save from liability.
And you save your
God
liability.
forbid something happens.
And then actually keep the public safe at large.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at what was that? Remember the apartment condominiums that went down in Miami?
Down south.
Yeah, I mean, that movement, settling, I mean, that happens all the time. We get it up north here in Colorado. We have a lot of settling, shifting soils. So,
Well, I don't know if I can name the racetrack, but the racetrack that's down in Florida,
oh, yeah.
where they have the bike week?
Yeah.
That one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The one that rhymes with the Raytona?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
We did all those building joints in there, like 30 feet up in there. It's pretty cool. We did the domestic water side. We did the fire protection side. Did the mechanical side.
I mean, everything moves.
Everything moves.
That's
a cool track. I want to get back actually and see that track. I mean, I always go to buildings during construction.
Yeah, are you a NASCAR fan?
I am. Like Gaylords. I've been to those big atriums and stuff. All this stuff going up is so cool. And then
we did there's a bunch of material that we have with Watts on the Gaylord Hotel over here.
I did the Gaylords. I did all the Gaylords.
Oh, see, man, you missed us by like 5, because we did all the Watts, PRVs, and everything there.
I think one of the coolest things, anybody been in the airports in the U.S., right? Nobody takes pictures. Yeah. I went over to the Hammond International Airport. I was flying over there. I was like a kid. I constantly had my camera out. That everybody should just take vacation and go there and walk through. It's incredible.
Really?
It makes all of our airports look subpar.
Really? Where's that at?
Hammond International Airport.
And that's in?
Yeah. I believe it's in Dubai.
Dubai. Okay.
And we did that, either Dubai or Qatar. We'll have to fact check that, because I did the World Cup there. I did that as well. But the point is, as I went through, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I want to take pictures.
Yeah.
And you see it on a drawing, and then you're walking through the facility, and so for anyone that's in this industry and you really do that job well, there's such a sense of pride.
Yeah.
It's so
no,
cool.
there is. That was the funny thing is, my wife.
The list goes on and on.
I'll walk somewhere. My wife will I'll see like a backflow device, or I'll see something else. And my wife will be like, "Don't do that. Don't embarrass me."
Yeah, I'm always looking up at the ceiling.
Like, oh, see, I did that. Oh, we did that. We did that.
Because you're OCD.
Yeah. Yep. Brent tells me that I am diagnosed ADD. But Brent tells me that I am. He got me a T-shirt, and it says I'm OCD and ADD. So things have to be perfect, but not for long.
Yes.
That's my life. Yeah. That's my burden.
No, I think that's just detail. And I look at everything with a creative eye, so I'm constantly dissecting things.
So I wonder if you're the same way, because when I was in high school, you were talking about doing your tests.
Yes.
Your book your book reports and all
Yes,
that. Yeah.
yes.
The same way. So I never did any homework, but I'd ace all my tests.
So did I.
And then I hunkered down my senior year and got I think I did a 4.0 my senior year just so I could get a 2.5 accumulative. But then I think I scored 28 on my ACTs. And then my ASVAB for the military, you can do whatever you want. We do Intel. I think it was in the 98th percentile or whatever on that.
Yeah.
So, and then I thought, I guess I'm not dumb. I just need to find something I like.
It just didn't stimulate you. So
Yeah,
I think,
it's got to be something you like.
It comes down to the previous conversation. People like my son's going to school, and he's like, well, I don't know what I want to do. And I said, nobody knows what they want to do at that age.
No.
Unless you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or something like that, and you know very specifically. But for a lot of us, we don't know what we want to do. You might have an internal passion, and then life will unfold. And when doors open, you kind of take the opportunity. Yeah. And then if you think that's not going to be a long-term goal for you when you take that job instead of a job, take it as a career. Because if you take it as a career, you function at a higher level.
That's a big. I remember all the time when I was hiring.
Because you think differently.
Yeah.
Even if it becomes a job for a couple years, make the decision in your brain. This is not just a job. This is my career.
My career. Yeah. That is fantastic advice because that's something I've taught or I've tried to pass down to my children. But that's how I always looked at everything as anything I ever did. Well, and then there was another thing too that I realized is, and I think a lot of veterans kind of have this mindset, and I think it's also why we might have the big, problem that we have with veteran suicide, is most people that join, our military is a volunteer, 100%.
Absolutely.
And the majority of those people, it's not that they're just doing it because they had to. The majority of people are doing it because they want to volunteer.
They wanted to. They want to serve the country.
That's something in their heart. And so what I've realized, and my wife and I were talking about this, is I have to. She's like, you have to make everything life or death, and I'm like, but it is. I mean, look at water. How long can people go without water? I supply water. That's life or death.
Well, actually, you mentioned Gorbachev earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to see Mikhail Gorbachev. I have a friend that went to the University of Rochester, and this was when I first bought Flexos, and he had graduated. He had worked, I think, at the time for UPS or whatever. And he's like, you got to come to Rochester. I'm in Syracuse at that time. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's like late at night. I'm thinking I don't want to drive there. It's the middle of the winter. The hell with this. I'm not going to do this. He calls me up a few times. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So I get there, and it's in the university, and we're in the stadium there, whatever, the auditorium. And it was pretty cool. As fast as he talked, the translator translated. You could feel the passion. There was no pause. Wasn't monotone. And he talked about the excess of, your cars, what you had. So as I'm thinking, the fuel, and I'm going through this whole thing and thinking what I had for cars, snowmobiles, whatever at the time, boats. But then when he gets all done, the message he shared was where he felt future wars were going to be. And it wasn't on anything I was thinking about. Water.
Yep.
Water. Because the majority of the world doesn't have fresh water. And in the Great Lakes of the United States, I'm not sure, you could fact check that, but I think we're like at 98% of the fresh water in the world is from the Great Lakes region. So when I heard that, I thought to myself, wow, we are so blessed. Water. Who would think water? We should have been the guys standing in the stream, that were smoking the doobie. Who was that? That came up with the bottled water. Do you remember that early commercial for bottled water?
Yeah.
Was that Colorado? Who was the first? It was a great commercial.
Well,
they're sitting there hanging out, man. Like, oh man, maybe I could bottle this. Wouldn't that be cool?
It wasn't. Well, it definitely wasn't Aquafina.
No, I don't think. So right now, I'm in the process of bottling air. I'm going to take all those plastic bottles. I'm going to bottle air. I think I can sell it.
I think it was Avion, by the way. So
Might be. Well,
Coors does that too, right? They show the snow melt coming off in the river.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. But nobody's bottled air yet.
No, it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can find a way to make a buck off that.
Yeah.
I mean, but that is the reality, and I think with a lot of veterans, because what happens is, and I do look at it that way, and that's just how I'm passionate about things. And I think that a lot of veterans, when they get back, everything they do, someone's life depends on them. Even if you're an MP or you're an Intel,
the cook,
my brother, the cook. I mean, everyone depends on the person to the right or the left.
The ground maintenance guy, if he does those Humvees wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you won't be flying a helicopter that somebody didn't maintain,
or all of a sudden the vehicle stops, right? An armored vehicle.
Yeah, and so then these guys get home, and they're driving a UPS truck.
Yep.
And they're like, shit, if I freaking go home and get hammered tonight and decide I don't want to go to work tomorrow, nobody dies.
Right.
And I think that's one thing. And I think this industry, I really do. I think this industry would be a great place for a lot of veterans that would find, that sense of purpose. And I love the camaraderie.
I do too. I actually have a couple of veterans that work in. My sales manager is a veteran.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember when I hired him. It was one of the primary. Well, it was on his resume, but when I interviewed him, that was one of the primary reasons. He's done a tremendous job. John Golly, he's a veteran.
Okay. Yeah.
And he does all of our technical layouts.
What branch was he in?
He was in the Air Force. So I told him he really wasn't in the service. I joked with him because I was in the Army. But if somebody's in the Marines, I'm like, we were always there first anyway. But I get it.
I wanted to be. I wanted to be in the Air Force. I just never got the grades because the only thing I wanted to do in the Air Force was be a
pilot.
Be a pilot. If I couldn't be a pilot, then that was it, man. I mean, my dad took me to Top Gun in 1986.
Yeah. That's got to be actually in the Air Force. It's probably got to be. I wouldn't say there's any job that's harder than the other. No disrespect to any serviceman, but to think at that altitude and some of the G's that they push on themselves, that's got to be like. I don't do Disney. And I can't do rides, so I can't even imagine.
Have you seen any of the
Netflix?
The Netflix just came out with one on the Thunderbirds. It's worth a watch. Yeah. And then Amazon Prime, and you can watch that still. Prime is the Blue Angels.
I've seen the Blue Angels.
The difference between the Blue Angels, though, I think, and the Thunderbirds, because I grew up watching the Thunderbirds. I don't know which ones. It was always a back and forth. I mean, they're both so good. But, I mean, the precision, when you're flying 600 miles an hour and the guy's telling you that wingtip is 13 inches away from the canopy.
It's crazy.
And they're all keying off of each other, and then you have in the Thunderbird or
they're working in sync. So think about that. So think about teamwork, loyalty in a business.
Yeah.
And if you all could tune yourself into that level,
one key off one person
to the next person.
That's because the position. So you have the one, and then the guy who sets everything, I think, is on the one wing side, and everybody goes off of that. So then they're keying off of that wingtip to get to that like diamond formation. Yes. And all they're looking at is that wingtip. Right. And that's why I don't know I remember my dad telling me the story, but in that Thunderbirds documentary, they cover it.
Yeah.
The one where everyone went in the ground in Nellis on a training, and it was because they were all keyed off the one guy and he came in too shallow. So they actually do a maneuver, I think but they're coming over where they're actually losing altitude, but they're coming together as a diamond, and it relies on everyone keying off of each other to pull out of that. And so they were doing that back in, I want to say it was the 70s, maybe the 80s, and they followed the guy, and the guy didn't have it right, and they all went boom, 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 boom right in the ground because they were all keyed off each other.
Yeah, because they're all looking at that one point.
But then but for the most part, it syncs up perfectly.
It syncs up, it all works in harmony. So when we did over the seas recently, we synced up and we did it perfectly.
Yeah.
And where you work, you and your team work in the same manner, and you pull.
Try to.
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate.
I love what I do. It's fun.
So do I. So I think about sometimes that people come after my company and try to buy me all the time. And there was one last month or 2 months ago, and I talked to all of them because I always want to see what their perspective is and what they're going to do in the industry.
Plus, you want to know what the offer is, right?
No, I never usually try to get that far. I usually talk to the hedge fund to see first, qualify them, and then after that, I'll talk to who's the acquiring company, and it has to be the CEO. And if he's not interested, I'm not interested. And then they have to come visit the company, and then they got to understanding my marketing and how we're moving forward.
The problem is most of these companies that get bought, though, they end up
screwing it up.
Yeah.
And I've built this, and I'm going to continue to build it. And prior to leaving this industry, I'm going to consume it. So I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying the ride.
Well, you're great at it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I mean, we're excited to work with you. I think that you're everything that it aligns perfectly with our company. We have a motto in excellence together, and then everything that we've done, we really look to align ourselves with manufacturers that are solving problems, that are out innovating. Because if you're not innovating, you're just
you're not growing.
You're not growing.
Yeah, it's got to be a constant.
Yeah. I mean, and that being said, where do you see some of the innovations going in mechanical HVAC? Like, what are some of the innovations that you You think?
Well, in my industry, I think the only thing that would take our industry away is if they get to like they can beam the water up and there's no piping system, then we're all out of business. But I mean, we're getting into a lot of AI facilities. They have certain copper
data centers.
data centers and AI facilities, and we're doing a tremendous amount of those. We're domestic. We obviously do material certs. We ship them extremely quick versus getting off the boat. They do have certain material content requirements. And that's a fast-paced, growing industry.
It is.
To play in that industry, and you have to produce quality. So, in that, it's interesting because we're doing so many, and the industry is moving so quickly on that. It makes me wonder where all that information is going. Like, where's all this data? What's the need for all this data? Then we're moving to AI. So we did a recent article I had to do for Columbia. I want to tell you that. And the rep kept calling up and saying, because I don't know any Spanish. We talked about that briefly when I lost my train of thought. And he's like, give us a technical article. And I'm thinking, well, I'll have somebody write it. In the old days, I would have typed it out on an email and had my assistant look at it and clarify it. So, within a few strokes, it's like, well, I don't. And now he's got to have it tomorrow. It's this time right now. He's going to have it tomorrow. And I'm like, I almost got my toes in the sand. So you plug in a few words, tell me a technical article and how Triflex Loop or Tri-Loop compares. Those are the two patented products. Triflex Loop is the first generation. Tri-Loop is the second generation. It replaces mechanical pipe loops and it's used for over building joints. Put in a few keywords, maybe 30 seconds later.
Yeah.
This technical article was incredible. And I read it and I know it and I've patented that information. So I've patented the product that I teach on this industry. And the article was spot on.
Yeah.
It was kind of scary.
It is scary.
And then I changed it up and I said, okay, just compare one product versus another. And it gave me another perspective and within seconds. And, of course, then we published it and we put it in the articles for South America because we're pushing. That's a developing marketplace.
I'm using AI a lot, all the time. And what's interesting, too, is have you used different models?
Yes.
So then you get 3. So we got multiple screens up at 3 up, and I'll say, give me this perspective. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's.
I think you got to embrace it because.
But if you don't know what the hell you're talking about,
right.
It's not going to work. Like you can't be like, oh, write this technical paper on how to build an airplane. Like you have to know what you're talking about, and I think that's what. If you use it as a tool,
you got to key it in. So the keywords we said: write a technical article on Triflex Loop, how it compares to conventional mechanical piping systems, Z-bends, L-bends, and mechanical pipe loops, and how does it relate to the International Building Code?
And boom, and then you can give it a couple tweak this, we add this to it, change this, add this feature. I mean, you still have to know.
And it pulls all that information and it pulls it all together.
It's just all it is it's the speed of access of information. I mean, I was talking to my son. I'm like, and if we don't embrace that.
It's not going to replace people. It needs just to be embraced. You need to utilize the tool. Does anybody have a cell phone? It didn't get rid of your job.
No, yeah,
right.
Sometimes I wish we didn't have that. I mean, do you remember the days? And it's like I had my kid. I was doing a field trip with him.
Bag phone.
Well, I do. Had my kid over at one of these. I can't remember what it was called. It was a historical museum or whatever, and there was a phone booth there.
Yeah.
And so I walk in my.
Those are the things of the past.
Yeah. He's going to be in 6th grade, but this was on this field trip when he was in 3rd grade or 4th grade, and walk over to the booth and hand him the phone, and they're like,
"What do I do with this? Yeah, what do I do with this?
Yeah. Well, it used to be able to this. What does that mean? And,
right.
Or rolling, this one rolling down the window.
Yeah.
No one knows that shit.
Yeah, versus pushing a button. That was an option to get power windows versus roll it down. My first car in high school was a 1965 Mustang. That was a pretty cool car.
My dad, what year?
65 Mustang. Oh. I put 50s on it, hood scoop on it, lifted it. It was cool. Little 289, hood pinned it. It was a cool car.
I miss the 80s cars too for me. Yeah. That stuff's all gone. Everything now is computerized. And all these electrical cars, man.
I like the sound of Thunder. I like bikes, Harleys. Yeah. Like I said, I'm into old motorcycles as well, so it's cool.
So you ride motorcycle?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I've been cross country a couple times. I've been up to Cape Cod, Nova Scotia.
Oh, awesome.
Now we just kind of ride around to the tiki bars on the beach down in Florida. My wife doesn't necessarily want to do long trips on it, but we do ride occasionally.
I miss Florida. That's the one place if I could go back.
Well, you got to
for my job.
You got to come down and visit. We'll do a podcast, my new podcast down there.
Your new podcast, yeah.
I'm either doing it. I think I'm going to actually set it up in the plan. That's probably the appropriate place to put it.
Yeah. So I used to run. I don't know if you're. How many times you've been to Fort Walton Beach?
Many times.
But I ran Hampton Imports.
Okay.
It was off of Hollywood. Hollywood Boulevard? It's like right off 98.
Yeah, I know where it is. Right off 98, kind of heading north.
Like
there.
Mary Esther and Hollywood.
They call that whole region the Emerald Coast.
And the Redneck Riviera.
Yes.
I love it. My son,
Well, the Redneck Riviera is extremely expensive. Just in 38, just a quarter mile from where I live on the ocean, Gulf of America.
Used to be the best kept secret.
Yeah, and that house is listed for like $22 million. So those numbers of the houses are going crazy.
We
now.
had a house there. It was a ranch style.
Everybody found it.
2,600 square foot. 26. And let's see, we had 2 kids, 4-bedroom house, ranch style, brand new. We could walk to the intercoastal. Then you had to go across the bridge to get to the ocean. But we could walk to the intercoastal. 298.5.
Yeah, those days are gone.
Yeah, it's like 700 now.
Well, that's going to be just a down payment for part of your kitchen appliances. Yeah.
And then you got the town where the Truman Show was filmed.
Seaside.
That place is beautiful.
That's a beautiful place. That's a very
Although
touristy.
it's a little creepy though.
Man,
I saw an old guy out there like cutting his lawn with scissors. Like it's a little weird.
Yeah,
place,
that's a huge rental community. That thing is packed. Locals down there, we stay away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to love it, but we used to hate tourism season down there
Yes.
because it was like that 98 just clogs up.
You can't
Take
move.
you to, and then I think they redid that bridge that goes from you did Destin.
Yeah, the Mid-Bay Bridge, and then they did the 331 bridge.
Yeah.
They changed it out.
Yeah, we used to love going. I had a boat there. We went to Crab Island all the time.
I just got back from Crab Island. I did it for my wife's birthday on Sunday.
Man, my wife's gonna be so jealous.
Yeah, that was a cool time.
My wife's gonna be so jealous. Well, I definitely got to get down there.
Yeah,
for
you
sure,
have to come visit.
I had a fun time.
It
How
was.
about you?
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Can you believe it's been an hour and 20 minutes?
No, I hope everybody found it informative, and I'm sure in the future you'll have a tremendous podcast, and hope to do it again with you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you,
sir.
Yep,
Yeah.
see you. Good to talk to you.